I want to have a conversation about the impacts, both positive and negative, that remakes, remasters, and re-releases have on the gaming world. Before we jump into the good, the bad, and the ugly about these, I want to distinguish the differences between remakes, remasters, and re-releases. Remakes are taking these games and building them from the ground up, adding new things and changing up the gameplay. Most recent examples being Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and the Final Fantasy VII remake. Remasters and re-releases I find get a little more difficult to define the difference between the two. Re-releases I see more or less taking an emulator, emulating these games, and just running them on modern systems, while remasters being more about the upgraded graphics, about the sound quality, quality of life improvements. Granted, in this video I'm going to use remasters and re-releases more or less interchangeably. I feel there isn't like a huge difference between the two. Now that I'm on my mandated 15-minute break for boulder punching, well, let's talk about the good about remakes, remasters, and re-releases.
But look, I got some cool pogs. Elf pogs. Remember Elf? He's back in pod form.
Looking at remakes first, a positive impact being that the original vision that the developers had, the creators had, can be brought further to life. For example, Resident Evil 1 remake released in 2002, an update on the 1996 version had a lot of things that the team wanted to put in but just simply couldn't due to the technology limitations at the time. Remakes can help introduce these older games to newer generations, and while I feel that most older games do hold up, see my video on that here, if it does help introduce new generations of Zoomers to experience games like Final Fantasy VII Remake or Resident Evil 2 Remake because the old games looked ugly, then so be it. I see that as a net positive overall when it comes to the remakes. On the subject of remasters, I'm a huge fan of them when they really help deal with compatibility issues. Nightdive Studios was initially founded to help get System Shock 2 running legally on modern systems, and since then has helped pull out old PC games from abandonware hell, whether that be the legal issues or compatibility issues like Blood or Blade Runner, and getting them running on modern systems with all you having to do is simply install without saying you have to resort to diving through obscure forums to find workarounds. It takes as much time to install Skyrim, install a bunch of mods on Skyrim, play for a couple of hours, and drop off, only realizing it's just Skyrim. Another benefit of remasters is games that were initially overlooked getting renewed interest as time goes on. For example, the re-release of Nier that will be happening soon, so it could be finally on PC and now modern consoles. With the success of Nier Automata, it gives people more to look at the previous works that that team put out related to that series. Another good example would be Wonderful 101 from Platinum Games, which was initially just a Wii U exclusive, but is now coming to modern systems and the PC, which I am looking forward to. Some other examples could be Okami or the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro remasters, the re-release of games like Bayonetta and Vanquish on the PC. It could show to developers and publishers that if these type of games still sell, they should make more of these with original IPs, sequels, spiritual successors, you name it. I see that overall as a very much a net benefit to the gaming industry. With that said of the net positive, let's now look at the potential negatives when it comes to remasters and remakes.
Capcom is making a new video game, y'all. No, they aren't!
They're fucking up-resing a remake.
Firstly, I'm going to start on the topic of remasters and re-releases here. There have been a number of spotty remasters over the years that are just simply quick cash grabs. Unless it's Blue Point Games that's remastering it, you're taking a bit of a crapshoot of what you're going to get. Some examples including the infamous Silent Hill HD collection, which changed so many things from the base game, changed voice acting. You have a more recent example being the Warcraft 3 Reforged edition that changed so much from the original game and all for more or less the negative. It was easily seen as a cash grab, and customers let Blizzard know about that, as they should. There's also lazy remasters that just take a game from just a few years ago and just giving it a little paint job. A lot of these are even getting simply outsourced to other studios to work on. It's not like these remasters are typically hard to find games or ones that need updating to run on modern systems. These are simply just cash grabs, unfortunately. Now I want to talk about the concerns about the remake.
Because this summer, The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes comes out, which is a sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which is not to be confused with Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, which was a reboot of the original Planet of the Apes movies.
While it is great that games like Final Fantasy VII, Resident Evil 2 have turned out very well, their success could eventually lead to the downfall of original ideas. For example, Capcom moving forward with a remake of Resident Evil 4, which is a title I feel still stands fine as it is, and it's already had 1 million remasters over the years. I don't think we need to see a remake. With the success of Final Fantasy VII, which is fine, are we going to start seeing Square doing remakes of Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IX, instead of trying new scenarios in the Final Fantasy world? Are they simply going back to the well? I am happy that Capcom took a risk with Resident Evil 7 changing up the formula, and that's great. But of course, the concern is instead of trying new titles or like a Resident Evil 8, although it sounds like it is coming together as a first-person shooter, we'll get several remakes for each original IP, sequel, spiritual successor. And yes, I know AAA development is expensive, and I know publishers are hedging their bets, want to make risk-averse games that sell well with minimal risk. But how much is it going to be that gamers start to realize, you know what, we're actually tired of remakes. We want something new. Look at Hollywood the last decade and a half in regards to remakes, reboots, whatever you call it. And yes, they are making bank, but look at the death of a lot of original ideas. Thanks, Marvel. So overall, are remakes and remasters, re-releases, are they a net positive for the gaming industry? I'd say so when used properly. If it's for helping get older games of cult favorites running on modern systems or introducing younger generations to older games, I'm all fine with it. But the issue comes when it starts to replace new IPs or trying new things with sequels or spiritual successors or simply just doing a quick graphic job. Anyways, I think my mandated Boulder punching break is over, so I have to get going here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like, smash that subscribe button just like I smash boulders. Leave a comment on how you feel about remakes and remasters, and I'll see you next time.